This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 10. We're in double digits already. Nice.
I was just dumping the money in until I was at a pretty significant loss when I eventually just cashed out.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host, whose favorite words are bamboozled and befuddled, Clay Trader.
Say the words with me. Befuddled. Bamboozled. If you've never said those words before, I promise you, if you say them out loud, you're going to be hooked. So if you're at the gym right now on the treadmill, say it out loud. People may give you a funny look, but just go with it. They're fun words. I promise you, they'll become your favorites if you just let them roll off your tongue. What about you, Ches? Ches is our co-host, by the way. This is becoming more and more non-formal as I get more comfortable doing this, so bear with us here. But anyways, Ches, the co-host, what are your favorite words?
I'm a big fan of the verb flim-flammed. If you get flim-flammed, yes, that's my word. That if I say it, I usually can't help but laugh about it. But yeah, that's my verb that I use.
No, I think you just made this up. So can you define the word, please?
Flim-flammed is just like getting bamboozled or beswaddled or whatever other ridiculous words.
Befuddled.
Yeah. There's many ways to kind of manipulate that and make it even more funny. So. But yeah, especially if you're in the middle of doing like chest press or something and you're really trying to put up some big weights, make sure you just scream out befuddled.
What do you call it, a chest press?
Chest press. If you're at the gym, I thought you were talking to people running in the gym.
Here in the Midwest, we call that a bench press. I don't know what you Southern surfer boys call it, but I guess
yeah, we're all about toning our individual muscles. We have focus groups on our muscle groups. You know how we do it out here.
Well, if anybody wants to take the time, leave your comment down below. Is it a bench press or is it a chest press? This is a dispute that needs to be figured out. But anyways, I wanted to turn this little kind of fun wordplay into a quick little lesson that applies to Ches and I also. And that is the internet is an ocean filled with sharks. You should be very skeptical. There are always people out there that will try to bamboozle you. They will try to trick you or just confuse you, make you befuddled. And I found this online. And from a message board, and I have to read it because it's hilarious, but this is from a message board. I promise I'm not making this up, but this is what it says. Clay Trader is a guppy who has no money. I heard he has a crazy gambling debt from an illegal underground casino. Poor guppy. So now he's short stocks because he has no clue how to follow big money. Too much time gambling and not enough time studying stocks that are about to make a move. So, is this true? No, last I checked, I'm not operating at a legal underground casino, and I don't think I have any gambling debt. But my point here is, if you see it on the internet, if you come across it on the internet, be skeptical. And that includes Ches and I. If this is the first time listening, we're total strangers to you. So be skeptical. Don't let anybody bamboozle you. Don't get befuddled by just utter nonsense. So keep that in mind. Message boards, social media, at the end of the day, remember this. The only person that has your best interest at heart is you. So that's why we're so big on education and teaching yourself how to fish so that you don't need to depend on other people, because there's literally people out there, and this person is serious. I wish I could say this was a joke, but this person is literally saying that out there, and it's just not true. And as painful as it is to say, I'm sure some people probably believe that. I mean, Ches, I don't know. Do I have gambling debt that I'm unaware of?
Well, not only do you have a gambling debt, it's an underground casino that you run with your underground hedge fund that's located in somewhere in the Siberia, and there's a lot of things podcasting. I'm not here to flim flam you. I'm here to kind of only preach the truth, and you should trust me. I am a stranger on the internet. But yeah, that was actually me that wrote up that guppy article. You always are shorting those stocks I'm trying to get in at 0001.
That I have my spies everywhere that they know what you're going to get in, and then I short them, and I short them down to oblivion. And that's just
just for clarity, guys, he is joking. I hope you understand that he's joking about this.
Yeah, this is a joke. And for anybody that's been around, if you're on message boards or anything, you'll see I get accused of quite a few things. The trading group gets accused of quite a few things that are just they're being done by people that don't want to look themselves in the mirror. And as we're going to learn in this interview, we go to be honest with themselves. Our guest today is Justin. He goes by the chat in the chat room Freefall909, and we already actually did the interview. But on that note, one of his big things was, you got to be honest with yourself. And the people that are out there hurling around these accusations and blaming other people, at the end of the day, it comes full circle to they just don't want to accept responsibility. They're not being honest with themselves, and they're just trying to blame others. So don't be bamboozled by these people. Don't let them befuddle you, and don't let them flim-flam or whatever Chez's favorite word is. Was that right, Chez?
You got it. You had correct usage of that.
I feel and I sound so much more intelligent than what I probably really am, but that's okay. It's a good ego boost. But anyways, we have joked around enough. Let's hop right into the interview with Justin. Well, hey, Justin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I appreciate you taking time out of your day, and I know you have an interesting story, so I'm excited to learn about it and just learn about the ups and downs, and hopefully the listeners can relate and learn something from it. So best place to start of a story is at the start. So what got you interested in the markets? What were you kind of looking at that made you think, hey, that seems like a pretty interesting thing? And then what kind of transition from thinking about the markets to actually starting to put some money on the line?
Well, actually for me, it started at a really young age, probably 10, 12 years old. I always seen Wall Street in the movies and all the flashing lights and the money, and that was something I was just actually really interested in doing. And funny, back then I actually thought stock was something you could physically hold in your hand, but that was something I kept with me for quite a while. I wanted to get into it in high school. I went to the library, tried picking out a few books. I knew eventually that's what I wanted to do. But when you read those books, you just kind of they jump right into it. The vocabulary made no sense, so I kicked it to the back burner again and said maybe later on in life I'll jump into it. And years later, I talked to my wife a little bit more about it. I really like to learn, and that's right around the time the Wolf of Wall Street came. And after seeing that, I was hooked. I knew I wanted to trade some penny stocks.
It's funny you mentioned that. I actually you took the question right out of my mouth. I was going to say, did you see the movie, and did that kind of inspire you to take any action or stuff? So that's pretty funny that having Hollywood shine a light on that, it kind of brought you back to kind of figuring out what you're going to do. So give the listeners a little bit of background though prior to the movie coming out and you kind of getting back interested in the markets. What were you doing? Or, did you work in the finance world, or where were you before that movie came out?
I was just a few years out of high school. I really had no college background. It's just something, for whatever reason, I was passionate about. I'm not really quite sure why. And after seeing that movie, it really kind of drove me to open up my account. I threw like $500 in it, and I was ready to. I found iHub. I typed it into Google. That was the first thing that popped up, and I kind of had a friend that traded a few penny stocks, so he showed me how to put a limit order in, and from there I took off.
So penny stocks, what were your first impressions going in? Now you saw the movie Wolf of Wall Street, so did you think everything was a scam? Were you skeptical going in, or what was your kind of upfront mindset in terms of, penny stocks are, and then fill in the blank? What did you kind of think about that?
I thought penny stocks were the get rich quick. When I seen the movie the first time I seen it, I didn't really take out of it at all that penny stocks were scams. I took out of it that penny stocks are going to make me rich. That's the whole point of the movie the first time around.
So you're just going into it thinking, you know what? I saw this movie. The guy made a lot of money, and he had something to do with penny stocks. So therefore, I'm going to get in penny stocks and get rich. Is that pretty much kind of your mindset up front?
Yeah, that was pretty much the mindset. Right around that time, the Wolf of Wall Street came out. The marijuana boom and stocks. When I was looking up different penny stocks, they were moving 100, 200. Some even 1,000%, and it really seemed like this movie was dead on. This is what penny stocks do.
I never thought about that before, but that's a really good point. It was kind of a perfect storm where that movie came out, and then the whole, marijuana stock thing was going on. So it really did make the movie look totally credible because it's. Did you ever think about that, Chez? That just dawned on me. Talk about the marijuana boom giving, just that much more credibility to Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yeah, totally. It's just, and I think a lot of people didn't kind of realize some of the shady dealings that might go on in the background. And while I have no proof of some of this stuff, the SEC certainly does, and you hear about arrests and stuff like that. But yeah, it was really good timing on their part for kind of how the boom was going in the penny world then.
Yeah. So back to question for you, Justin. You got into penny stocks. You thought you were going to get rich. You found iHub. Is that pretty much what your quote unquote research and education consisted of at that time? And first piece of education was, hey, I saw this Hollywood movie. And then second piece of education was, I went to message boards, or was there a little bit more to it? What kind of quote unquote, like I said, research were you doing at this point?
At that point in time, I thought that any and all marijuana stocks were just going to go to the moon. And my only education really was I had a buddy that traded a few different penny stocks, and he showed me how to put that limit order in. And I mean, that was about as far as my knowledge of how to use platforms and all that. And as far as how I picked my stocks, it sounds kind of funny now that I think about it, but I used to sit down. My mother-in-law was into it a little bit with me. I'd sit down at the computer and go, I'm going to find it for tomorrow. And I would literally go through message board after message board, just looking for whatever one had the most hype and, the most excitement going on. And I wouldn't even pull up a chart that next day. I would just buy in right at the very beginning of whatever I was asking for, and I would sit there for hours, with my fingers crossed, hoping that it went up.
Gotcha. So you really didn't have any kind of background in technical analysis or anything like that for charting, right?
No, I had, as it went on, I got used to using level 2 a little bit, and that's pretty much for almost a year. That's all I traded with. I'd pick a penny stock, and if it looked like level 2 was going to move, I would wait for it to uptick a couple cents, and I would sell, and then try to find another one with a bunch of hype, and that's kind of how I did it for quite a while.
So how did you have kind of recent success, recent failure? How did that go for you?
I think like a lot of people, the marijuana boom right away. I know I missed a lot of the major moves while I was getting into it and getting set up, but I was just throwing money at whatever one I wanted, and at first, I would be up $400 or $500 for the day, and instead of cashing that out, I'd be adding more money the next day, and until I was at a $300-400 loss on that stock, and it seemed like that was kind of a vicious cycle. I'd get 500, I'd lose 500, I'd win 50, I'd lose 50, and really at the end of the year, I kind of wasn't getting anywhere. So that was a little bit discouraging. So I started to reach out and look around a little bit more.
So it sounds like to me that you said you were playing the hype. So maybe you didn't realize it at the time, but at this point in your journey, at least were you falling in love with these companies? A lot of times, people say, I'm going to be an investor and I'm going to invest in penny stocks. And then they start to research them and they fall in love with the quote unquote fundamentals and all that. But it sounds to me like you weren't necessarily an investor. You were just playing the hype, but your main problem was greed. Is that, what you're saying here? It was greed was the main problem, not necessarily you drinking the penny stock Kool-Aid.
There were certain stocks, yes, I did hold way longer than I should have. I really thought that they were going to make me rich. I mean, I remember that high feeling. I got one of those days, and I'm like, I remember telling my friend I was helping him do some lawn work. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to be a millionaire over this stock. That was one of those stocks that I kept adding more money to and more money. And I mean, I didn't dump tens of thousands into it, but I dumped what was considerable amount of money to me at that time, and it wasn't going anywhere. But I wouldn't say I was a greedy person. A lot of times by the time the hype's built up, it would shoot up and then come right back down a lot of that times, and it got pumped, and that's kind of where I would throw money in. It would temporarily jump up. I'd be $100, $200, $300 up, and then I would just watch it. I'd never really cash out because I thought it was going higher, and by the time I was at a $300 loss, I'd sell it and try to move on to something else, and I know I was going to get lucky on this next one.
Right. So it wasn't necessarily I want to make more money. You just genuinely thought the price was going to go much higher. But
yeah, I didn't have any technical analysis. I didn't look at a chart. I didn't know where those support and resistance were. So when it felt right, that's kind of I went with my gut feeling, I guess. Like is now a good time to cash out? I'm up $100. I'll cash out, and sometimes I held and end up losing 100.
All right. So I'm curious on this one where you're telling your buddy that you thought you were going to be a millionaire. What was the ticker symbol on this one? And then what made you think, what was their product? What made you just fall so much in love with this? I think a lot of people could probably relate because for the long-time listeners, you remember, I fell in love with a muffler company, and as embarrassing as that is, but what was this company? What did they do? And what just made you just fall so much in love with it?
When I invested in a lot of my other stocks before, I guess, just threw money at them, I never really did any research. I just look, see how much hype was going on, what the volume of comments was, and I'd be in and out of them. As far as this one, this was, I don't even remember the ticker symbol. It was a a money service one, kind of like a PayPal. And I really thought that was going to be the next generation that was going to take over. And I was just dumping the money in until I was at a pretty significant loss when I eventually just cashed out.
Now, did that loss lead you to deciding you needed to kind of further your education and get, kind of figure out how to read the market better? Or, how did you proceed from that kind of big loss?
No, at that time, then I started to get a little bit emotional with it. I started to get aggravated and kind of worked up over it, like, why was this working out so good when I first got started? At least I was making a few bucks here and there. I wasn't necessarily cashing out when I should have, but I was seeing green. And now that I lost all that money, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make all this back. I'm gonna go to Twitter. I'm going to find someone pumping a stock because I seen people doing that. And a lot of times they did run a little bit before they crashed hard. And so I went onto Twitter. There was some guy that I followed for a little while, and he alerted 15 minutes. It's going to be the best pick of my life. And I waited that 15 minutes. And I remember trying to get in, and the bid and ask were just going up and up and up. And I was chasing it. And finally I got in. And at that exact cent I got in, it just dropped hard. And I pretty much lost my whole account in that one. And that's where I kind of gave up. I took a breath for a few months. And then I decided I was going to find somewhere to start learning.
Well, Justin, I want to congratulate you first off. You bought the top. I've been there. I bought the top. I'm certain Clay has bought the top and some other things
sir.
as well.
Well done. Golf clap over here.
Yep,
well done. Welcome
you
to
are
the
a
club.
trader, my friend. You are a trader, and that's kind of a rite of passage. So that happened. So, but yeah, that's pretty significant. The fact that you kind of lost your account, had to take a step back and take a breather. So now I want to I'm not even going to go into kind of the gap of the time you took off, but coming back to the market, what did you decide needed to kind of change from your first run?
Well, I decided I wanted to actually, looking at how Wall Street ran and how different traders, I knew everyone used charts. I thought maybe I'd get lucky and get rich, and it didn't have to do that, with all the hype that was going on with the marijuana stocks. But I decided to take a step back from that. I was going to learn, how charts work, how to read them. I was still kind of skeptical if they worked, or if I would be able to do it. I wasn't a really educated person. I didn't do years of college, but I decided, what? I spent, pretty much my whole life wanting to do this. So I'm going to go start looking around online when I find, some type of programs or videos or something that could teach me how to read charts.
So what made you want to learn charts though? I mean, you're away from the market and then you hop back in. What led you to charts? I mean, why not, some other sort of, strategy or something out there? What was it about charts that drew your attention?
Well, honestly, on iHub, you're pretty active on there, and I've seen a lot of your videos that you post, and they seemed at that time they seemed very honest, which automatically made me, I trusted you when I watched those. You weren't telling us to buy, you weren't telling us to sell, you were just giving us pretty much the hard facts of what the chart was showing, and a good majority of the time they were pretty spot on. So I'm like, okay, well, this guy's right quite a bit. Maybe there is something to this charting.
Okay, so you hadn't even you heard about charts just by on the message boards, and it just happened to be my videos. So that's what piqued your interest. I was just curious if you just randomly chose charts or something like that. But well, that's good that you are skeptical, because obviously I was just a random person to you on the internet. So you decided, you know what, I want to give these charts a little bit more. So where did that lead you? Did that lead you to just searching YouTube for videos, or what was your quote unquote education at that point?
Well, at that point, I switched accounts. I closed my Options Express. I went to the Thinkorswim, and they had a lot of tutorials how to use their charts. So I started pulling that up and fooling around. I still had no idea what I was looking at, and pretty much at that point, I knew I was going to take my time. I didn't want to just throw money into it and get aggravated. So I said, this is going to be kind of a slow process, so I don't stress myself out and not make it not fun anymore, not want to do it. So from that point, I joined the inner circle, and I just started, chatting with people. I still wanted. I was still a little skeptical, so I wanted to join the chat, spend the $100 and see how you guys worked in there. And I figured maybe if that works, I'll look into buying some videos.
Yeah. So just to clarify for people listening, and just to keep it real. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you did not join the inner circle. You did not pay the $99, and then all of a sudden you became a millionaire. That's not how it works, right?
Oh, absolutely not. No. I mean, I was still losing money left and right before, it was up to me whether or not, I wanted to further my education. And I knew that at that point.
Right. And I've made this point before, but I'm going to continue to make it. Whether it's my service you join, somebody else's service you join, joining a service, paying money for something is not like, a magic pill that all of a sudden is going to make you a better trader. There's still plenty of other stuff that has to go into it. And, Ches, I know, has quite a bit of experience with that. He actually talks with quite a few people, that have, questions about it. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Ches, but it seems like a lot of people seem to think that that's a magic pill that exists out there.
Yeah, they assume, and it's probably a cultural thing more than anything, that if you have a problem, you should just be able to throw money at it and fix it. And that's not, that's, while that may be like a cultural norm, if you have a backache, take these pills, you have a headache, take these pills or something, you can't just buy your way out of, if you're doing poorly in trading. So I think that's a cultural thing that kind of bleeds into trading so far. But yeah, a lot of people, they think that if they buy a service, buy a program, something like that, that it's just going to lead to instant success. And it's not. It takes a lot of hard work on, your part. You have to put forth the effort. It's not going to come to you easily. And that's just a mistake that people commonly make. So you were kind of skeptical at first. You're now in the chat. What kind of pushed you over the hill to decide to, maybe learn a little bit more about technical analysis?
Honestly, just having kind of the support of all the members, you're doing great, or, keep your losses small, and just little tips like that. I've seen some of the people that were very successful in there, and, they always kind of pushed the education, which I respected. No one was in there telling you to buy or sell, like I said, they pushed for, this one might be looking like a good setup, but it was up to me to do my own charting and my own learning at that point. And that kind of, I liked that whole atmosphere. And it kind of pushed me to want to learn charts. I obviously, at that point, I was realizing they were working. I mean, there's no way you have this many people that are charting, and some of them even for a living full time, and doing so well.
So the first couple of days in, though, were you randomly buying ticker symbols that you saw in the chat room, or did you realize, okay, wait a minute, these aren't necessarily buy or sell alerts, these are more, just kind of setups, or did you realize right away that, okay, I need to take a step back, or were you just, 2 deep or 2 feet in, just buying left and right, or how was your first few days in the chat room and kind of seeing how things are structured?
At that point, I only really hung out inside the penny stock room. And I really thought at first when I joined, it was going to be a lot of picks. Like, this is the place to buy. This is, right now. And I was finding myself just throwing money and not taking huge losses. But I was throwing money out there, and it still get me nowhere, which was a little bit frustrating. I was assuming, everyone in there is a master trader, and every alert's gonna be dead on. I'm gonna be rich. But I quickly learned that wasn't how it worked in there.
I appreciate the brutal confidence that you thought we were all master traders and everything, and here it turned out we're all average normal people that are just trying to be educated guessers in there, which I know you now understand. That's all this trading thing is making educated guessing and managing risk. But on that note, what finally kind of pushed you over the edge in terms of, okay, I'm still losing money, but I want to learn more about technical analysis? So what kind of was not necessarily the complete turning point, but where did you then progress from there to really kind of start to see things more so bottom out within your trading career?
From that point, I had my TD Ameritrade account. I was doing a lot of paper trading on my own, trying to pick my own setup. Still doing penny stocks at that time. I thought that's all I'd ever be able to afford. I mean, I do good for myself, but I'm not rich. I couldn't afford what I consider rich. Jumping $20,000-$30,000 into these big board stocks. So I was still with the penny stocks at that point. Really, when everyone started talking about options is what got my attention, and that's what really made me, kick my learning into high gear. And I got an options course, and I learned a ton from it. It really inspired me that, wow, I can actually play these stocks that, it's not just random picks and when the penny stocks are doing good, when it's in season. And when I realized that I could really do big board, that's when I sat down and I was hammering the videos out, and I knew it was going to work at that point.
Yeah, it's nice to trade companies that have actual CEOs and aren't run in a van down by the river under a bridge somewhere. So yeah, that's and I was kind of in the same boat as you. I had started with a small account and figured I would never be able to buy 1,000 shares of any stock that was worth any value. But then options also kind of shed that light on me that you can kind of really use a small account pretty effectively, even with these big realistic names. So you kind of realize options were a nice way to kind of put your capital to use. You're digging into your education now. And how's your trading gone since? How's it been working out for you?
I joined a CTU, and I watched a few of the different videos, and I found myself almost trying to shove too much knowledge in at once, trying to cram every different type of trading style in. So I decided, I was really going to focus on like the shorting side. Um, so I watched those several times over, and I paper traded. I did a little bit of if I seen a setup that I looked at that I was confident in, I really understood looking at it, I would trade that. I'd most of the time make a few bucks or take a very small loss as I kind of watch the other videos. And it's been going really great. That's pretty much really the only side I focus on right now is just the shorting aspect. As far as the other learning styles, I'm still paper trading those, but I know I'm not ready to actually to go live with those.
You said two of my favorite words, paper trading. I've explained it many times, but explain paper trading for those that may not understand what it is, because it's truly one of the greatest concepts out there for us as traders.
As far as the paper trading, it allows you to play with fake money, I guess. Using your platform, it's a good way to get to know your platform. You can buy and sell and try out different strategies, and you're not going to blow up your account and kind of make it so that you can't trade down the road. The paper trading really is the way to go if you want to learn, especially
Right.
if you're going to do it without having a lot of emotion in it.
Yeah. So, in other words, paper trading, I love that term. You're using fake money. It doesn't exist. Now, the catch-22 is because it's fake, if you make a gain, hey, it's fake money, so it's not worth anything, but it is worth something in the sense of, hey, I'm testing out a strategy, I'm testing out a system, and it seems to be working. Now, nothing's ever going to be as perfect as moving from real money to paper trading, but fake money, that's a great way to look at it. And thinking back to Big T's episode, it almost is like monopoly money in the sense of, yeah, if something doesn't work and it goes down, I'm not gonna. It's not real money that I'm losing. But like I said, the flip side is, well, you're not going to make any money. But point being, great way to test things out without any true risk at stake because of that potential loss. But want to quickly go back to, you were in penny stocks, and then people started to talk about options. So now you have one of these things where you have experience with penny stocks, you have experience with options. If you were to approach, or if somebody approached you on the street and said, "Hey, Justin, I'm thinking about penny stocks, or I'm thinking about options," what's the big kind of plus to penny stocks, or what's the big plus to options? What would you tell somebody in this situation?
I would say the plus to the penny stocks, I always had much big winners in penny stocks, to be honest with you. I had huge gains in penny stocks. The problem is I also had huge losses in penny stocks too. I mean, one tick up or one tick down when you're playing the sub-zeros, you lose a lot of money extremely fast. It's kind of, for me, it was hard to manage risk. When it came to options, you had a lot more data on your chart, a lot more support and resistances and years of data you could look at. And it was a lot easier to manage my risk. And I feel the options are the way to go.
Now, do you think your gains might have been much larger in penny stocks was because you were a little bit more uneducated at that point and maybe didn't realize that, you shouldn't be holding out for that 1,000%, 10 bagger or anything like that? Were you kind of being a little bit more realistic with options?
Yeah, I think so. I was definitely more careless, I guess you could say, with penny stocks. I was never going in with under $1,000. I would just, I would dump $1,000, $2,000 in at a time, and then I had, no idea where support and resistance was. I was just hoping it was going to go up one tick so I could cash out. With the options, a lot of times I'm trying to manage my risk more than I am trying to get huge gains, and I'm just looking I do like to do intraday, and I like small little moves up. I'll cash out. I'll look for another setup that I'm comfortable with. And it's just a lot, even stress-wise, it's a lot better knowing I'm not going to lose $200-$300 in a split second. I'd rather I cut my loss at, $5, $10, $15 instead.
Right. That's really kind of a very important point to make, is that, as traders, and we stress this in just about every podcast we do, the only thing you can really control is how much you have at risk. And we are risk managers, and that's what kind of keeps us alive for the long haul. And I'm sure, Clay, you would agree with that?
I mean, I'm trying not to tear up over here. I got goosebumps. If this was like a cheesy romance movie, I'd probably walk over to Justin and give him like a big old hug. He said one of the best quotes I've heard to date on the podcast. He said, "I'm not trying to get big gains. I'm just trying to manage risk." Something like that. Maybe you started off saying, "I'm not trying to manage risk. I'm trying to manage risk, not get big gains." And that's poetry as far as I'm concerned, because that's what you're looking for. We as traders, we're not looking for big gains. And if that all of a sudden is, wait, what are you talking about? We are trying to manage risk. In the long run, the gains will take care of themselves. But if you're focused on the big winners, then it's just not gonna work out, because you're gonna give back those big winners. But if you're focused on risk, then everything else takes care of itself. So perfect quote there. You should get into poetry, Justin. That thing was just, like I said, I'm wiping away tears over here. My wife is giving me a hug right now. So it's very emotional with that fantastic poetry. But in regards to managing risk, let's talk about losses here. Let's talk about the psychology behind it. How did you take losses at first in terms of, how did that mentally affect you? And then contrast that with how do you take losses now, and then how does that mentally affect you?
Losses back then in the penny stocks, to be honest with you, I had kind of a bad attitude as a trader. I would have, $100, $200 loss. And my thinking always was, I make enough money, it's not, I'm not going to lose my house if I lose $200, I'll make it up in the next stock. I really didn't care. And I really wasn't at that point when I started to lose a lot of money and whatnot. I started to realize that if I want to do this long term as a trader, it's going to matter. It's me. And if I add up what I'm going to lose in 10 years trading the way I'm trading, I would have a lot more money if I just stayed away. And at that point, I knew that I need to keep the losers smaller. And I never had a loss under $50 when I was in a penny stock. That was unheard of. And now in options, if I have a loss, I'm going to take I like to do really quick plays. I'll take maybe a $5, sometimes even a $3 loss. I've had 93-cent losses, and I'll move on and I find another setup and I'll hit that and I'll make $15, $20. And it's just, as far as my winners to losers go, I'm doing 100% better now.
I want to really also push the point here, guys, is that you can see he came back to the markets after taking a brutal beating, being uneducated at that time. He got his money and candy taken from him. And now he comes back and, listen to how excited he is because he's making, $20 versus losing $3. His gains are much larger than his losses. And the thing is that can scale. He's not here starting saying, yeah, I'm making $1,000 when I win and losing, $300 when I lose. The important thing is that his winners are larger than his losers. You need to really ride those winners and kind of cut those losers quick. And 93-cent losers, I think most of us can sleep well at night knowing if we only lost 93 cents that day.
Yeah, I kind of look at it like this: if Justin's walking down the sidewalk, and let's just round it up to $1. So let's say not 93 cents, let's say $1 falls out of his pocket, and he keeps walking, and then he sees a $20 bill laying on the sidewalk, and he picks up that 20. He takes a few more steps. Maybe like $1.50 falls out of his pocket. All right, takes a few more steps. Hey, I'm going to pick up that $18 I see on the ground. Few more steps. Heck, maybe $3 falls out of his pocket, but he, takes another few steps down the sidewalk, and all of a sudden there's $25 sitting on the sidewalk. That's what Justin's doing. So don't look at the numbers and say, $20, that's nothing. Look at the proportion. The proportion of the winning size compared to the losing size is what matters, because Ches said that perfectly. You can scale that up. As you get more comfortable, Justin will increase the size, and, the size of the winners is going to increase. But he is forming good habits right now, and, that is the name of the game. But you said you're looking very short. So, what kind of time frames are you looking at? Are you looking to hold just 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Talk a little bit more about these, the time frames and kind of what strategy you're using right now in terms of, these kind of quick hitters, quote unquote.
I'm the type of person, my interest gets lost real quick if I'm staring at the same chart all day waiting for something to happen. So a lot of times I will set automatic alerts on my charts when it's coming up to a major support or a major resistance, and I'll have it, ding an alarm on my computer, and I'll come back up to it shortly before it hits where I want it to be. And a lot of times, I bet you the majority of my trades, I'm in them probably 3 minutes or less. I'm in them out really quick, and I'm usually only playing, 1 or 2 contracts at a time.
Sounds exactly like Clay. Clay's attention span is very short when it comes to trading stocks. If you guys have seen any of his live trading videos, it usually lasts a span of like 45 seconds.
Yeah, sometimes my wife comes in with a ball of yarn and starts to dangle it in front of the computer, and then I start swatting at it like a cat. So yeah, I can relate with Justin. I think we're out of the same mold in terms of our patience levels. So that's pretty funny.
So, but you said you do primarily focus on short side, and I kind of agree with you a little bit when I had kind of I learned so many strategies at once that I wasn't actually practicing them. So you found that kind of shorting is your kind of bread and butter. Is that right?
Yeah, I was actually really excited when I joined CTU to get all the videos and everything, and that was kind of I went through the robotic and all the basics, and I jumped right into the shorting one as I was always interested in how that worked, what's going on with the shorting, and that was the first one I watched and I really paper traded, and for whatever reason it clicked with me. They say as a trader you'll find a strategy and a setup that works for you, and I just found that one really clicked to my mind, and I was trying to throw in some of the other types of strategies, and I found I was almost getting them kind of mixed up in my head. It was too much knowledge. I mean, as a trader, you definitely need to be willing to put in years of learning and practicing. So I decided, that's kind of my niche right now. I'm good at it. It stands right out. It's right there in my face when I'm trading, and I just stick to the short side now.
Nice. Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, keep it simple, stupid. Just find a KISS method that works for you and then go with it. Trading is not rocket science. It's a situation where find what works for you and then just let it ride. Now, do you have any favorite indicators or anything like that? Or are you just, what are you really staring at when you're looking at the chart?
My charts are pretty simple. I have one monitor with a few different time frames on it. I like to have the yearly, the 15-minute, the 5-minute. Then I have the main one I trade on, and I actually like to keep that right on the 1-minute chart, intraday 1 minute, and that's the one I really look for my quick plays for the major supports, resistances. If it's breaking that main support that went back pretty far in the chart, I'll kind of sit right there, wait for when it has the indication it's about to break, and I'll kind of trade it right there. As far as I use the moving averages, the 8, 10. I use the Bollinger Bands of 50, 200. I keep it pretty simple, and really just the RSI 5. I found that really works quite good for me for the quick little plays.
Nice, yeah, RSI 5. I don't think we've had anybody mention that one, but yeah, a nice little setup there. But certainly, I see some of these people's charts, and there's 8 million things going on there. They have indicators that I have no idea what they're supposed to mean, but you're keeping it simple, and that's exactly what you want to do. So in terms of goals, kind of aspirations, what do you have for goals, and what would you say are some of your strengths and weaknesses right now?
My goals really is to just keep learning more. I mean, like I said, I'm still learning different strategies. I am strictly just paper trading, no strategies, though a lot of times I'll do like an on-demand after hours, late at night, I'll try out different strategies. That's the way it's not interfering with the markets during the day. So I just kind of want to push forward there, and I know this is going to be a long term. Even if it takes 10, 15 years to be a great trader, I still have a full time job right now, so this is something I'm doing part time on my days off. As far as strengths right now, I think I'm just keeping it honest with myself, and I am determined this is what I want. I know it works, and I'm trying to just kind of push forward there. As far as weaknesses right now, it sounds kind of funny, but even taking a $3 loss sometimes still gets me a little bit, throws off my day. And I'll have to kind of sit back a little bit and what did I do wrong? And sometimes, the market just throws you a curveball. And I'm getting to realize that now, no matter how perfect the setup is, sometimes it doesn't work out. And I am pretty quick to cut my losses, but it still hurts.
Yeah, and with time and practice and you have such a good mindset, and it's so refreshing to kind of hear. And I love doing these podcasts for that reason, is that you realize that this is a marathon. This is not a sprint, and we really want kind of people to understand that it does take time, and everybody kind of comes into their stride and figures out what works best for them with time and practice. And you're more than willing, you're ready to kind of to do battle with this market without kind of losing your shirt and trading too large or anything like that. Now, another question I want to ask you is, how does your wife feel about trading? How does your family feel about trading? Is that something kind of brought up, or do they think you're a degenerate gambler? Or we kind of had a lot of conversations lately with people who think that trading is the same as playing just playing roulette or something like that.
As far as the family side, every time I tell them about it, they're always they crack jokes about it. You playing the Monopoly money. I hear that a lot from my mother. They kind of just think that it's a little thing I just throw money at. They really don't think there's any substance behind it, that it'll ever really work out. they don't understand how the market works, and I can understand that. I don't get offended by that. If they don't understand how the market works, they don't understand how to, there is ways of managing risk. It's not necessarily just, throw everything on red. It's not necessarily how it's working. But that's okay. As far as my wife, she's really been a huge supporter. She's actually the one when we got our new house. She went and got me my new nice desk, and she bought me my whole monitor setup and kind of helped push me into trading, encouraged me to join Clay Trader actually, and she's really been there to help take all the steps. I know she's not very interested in the market, but she still allows me to. I like to talk to her and tell her different things I learned and how my day went, and she listens.
Yeah, that's awesome. Your wife sounds a lot like mine. I think my wife knows that the stock market goes up and down, but besides that, she's very supportive, but she doesn't really, really that's just pretty much to the extent of it. She is supportive and she just trusts me with it. But yeah, that's a support system that's really good to have, especially when it's close to home. In your case, your wife. And just out of curiosity, and you don't have to answer because I don't want to get you in trouble with your mother-in-law. But earlier you said your mother-in-law was in the penny stocks with you for a little bit. Is she still in the markets, or or has she become a billionaire in penny stocks and she lives on an exotic island somewhere?
No, I know she was up several times, some pretty decent money. Into her defense, a lot of the things she was starting to do a little bit of the due diligence as far as what the company, does it have a product, is it out on the shelves, and she started listening to a lot of the iHub stuff too, and she said, this is a real product, it's a real thing. I know it's going to come back. You should keep buying, and I guess you could say she's still in the market because she's still holding from a year ago. I don't even know if it's back down to zero which ticker she was holding, but she still has her money tied up in there.
So she's a trader turned investor in a sense, kind of then.
Yeah, I guess you'd say she's a long-term investor now. She pretty much she gave up on it. I mean, she does the real estate. She does very well with that, and she gave a poke at that. But it's really, with real estate that keeps her very busy out here in Las Vegas, and you really need to have to dedicate a lot of time to trading and learning, and she just recognizes she doesn't have that kind of time right now to really put into it.
So wait, this isn't a get rich quick thing, man?
Nah, but by no means.
Excellent. Since you have so much with the penny stocks, I want to ask you this question. So if somebody walks up to you and says that they have a hot stock pick for you, what would your response be?
I have actually several guys that I work with that trade stocks, and I hear that all the time. I got something that's really going to blow up. You should trade it tomorrow. And you know what? I'll tell them, send me the ticker name and I'll look at it. That's about as far as that goes. Someone has a hot stock for me. You know what? If it's going to have some volume and it's going to have some price action movement, I'll trade it.
I love how liberating is it though that even if somebody gives you a quote unquote hot stock pick, that you can look at the chart and you already know what your plan would be. How good does that feel? Because that was a huge thing for me, knowing that I'm completely self-sufficient and don't need anybody.
That's what actually, even when I have a bad day in trading, or if something doesn't necessarily go the way I thought, I get a little discouraged, which still happens, quite frequently. That's what kind of keeps me going is, when I traded penny stocks and I was making little gains here and there, even if I made a $500 gain in one day, which has happened, it doesn't really feel great. Just in the fact of it doesn't feel any better than, hey, I just got the money in it. Just like gambling, I guess. I knew that I didn't earn that money. I didn't know what I was doing, and that was always kind of a bad feeling that I didn't like about trading penny stocks when I first started. It's nice to know now, even if I only make $15, I actually knew what I was looking at, and I felt a little more rewarded at that point.
Yeah, you put in the work, and you got paid for kind of your time and your effort, and it's starting to show. Like I said, it doesn't have to be. You didn't just kind of fall into this bathtub of money. But I love the psychology aspect of people giving hot stock picks, because the more they tell me how great it is, the more I know they're invested, and the more I can just see it, especially when it ticks down against them. I can just kind of see hope and fear and pretty much all of their life's aspirations just kind of dwindling away if the stock goes down. And I've had people ask me as well for kind of what my thoughts are on things, and I'm just here to read the chart, and I'll tell them that I'm not, we don't do buy and sell recommendations or anything like that. But it's always interesting, kind of the more they tell me how great it is, the more I know they're kind of, the Kool-Aid has already been digested, and that sugar is really giving them a sugar high.
Yeah, and to their defense, I mean, some of those people on the forum sometimes they can be convincing. I've been on that end, and they start listing a lot of facts that who knows if they're truthful, but they always sound good.
Hey man, I thought 1 cent penny stock in a muffler company was going to go up to like $5. So yes, they can be very convincing if you let them be convincing. Well, want to start to wrap things up here, but final question in terms of just kind of I know a lot of people are curious on this one for the guest. Do you have any sort of rituals, routines, or anything, or how do you kind of prepare for the day in terms of just going into every day, or maybe you do stuff at night?
I do most of my training and paper trading at nighttime. I like to wake up, like an hour before the market, and that's really to keep it fresh in my mind. I'll draw out some major supports, some resistances. If any news came out, I'll kind of get everything set up that way, and then I just wait to see how the day unfolds. And I'm pretty quick to develop my plans and look for just trade things that I'm comfortable and that are pretty in my face.
Awesome, awesome. Now, something that I think most of our guests enjoy answering is if you had the time machine that's located in my storage unit, which I will rent for the low cost of a few penny stock shares. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
It would have been to probably not invest until I got educated, I guess. I mean, that money I lost could have been money being used right now.
Very good advice. So we're going to take this into a little bit of kind of, our off-topic fun questions. Clay's most important question, and what it will determine if you're ever going to be back on the podcast, is what is your favorite movie?
I put a lot of thought into this one. It would probably have to be, I like The Gladiator. I think that's a great movie.
Russell Crowe, you can't go wrong with that. Are you not entertained? Yeah, that's probably my favorite quote from that movie. Yeah. I think I might start to do that from this point forward. If they give me a movie, I'm going to see if I can quote it. But anyways, so what about food? What's your favorite meal, and how do you like to top that off with dessert?
Favorite meal, my wife would probably have to say the only thing I ever talk about is wings. I love any type of flavored chicken wings.
Oh, that sounds. I'm getting hungry right now. But we'll move off the topic of food. Oh, actually, what do you top off those wings with? What do you do for dessert?
I can't go wrong with cheesecake.
There you
I got
go.
the Cheesecake Factory close to me, and we're loving it.
Oh yeah, they got a lot of good choices there too. So what's your favorite song or band?
Favorite song or band? That's a hard one. I really I like the '90s alternative kind of bands. Probably more of a genre than I have a favorite band.
Well, at least you didn't say Miley Cyrus like Gator, and I think, yeah. Didn't Hooch say Britney Spears or something like that, if I remember right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm being a little bit modest, or maybe it was Christina Aguilera. I can't remember. Anyways, there's nothing better than poking fun at past guests that cannot defend themselves. Let me tell you.
Spice Girls.
Yeah, Spice Girls. Yeah. Oh, this is fun. To talk trash and not have to worry about a rebuttal. Anyways, let's get back on topic. If you had a dream trip that you could take on, where would you want to head?
A dream trip. I'd probably Alaska. I'd like to do some fishing in Alaska.
Bundle up. It's cold there. It's practically Canada, but
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more north. But so if you could meet one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
That's a hard one. In the fact of I never really idolized anyone, I guess, in the fact that I had just had to meet him. If I'm being honest with you.
Hey, we want honesty, so that's fine. But let's step outside of trading. So what do you like to do for fun? Hobbies. What goes on in the world of Justin outside of trading?
Well, before I moved to the desert, huge motocross fan when I lived back east. I grew up in Connecticut, and motocross, ATVs, anything with an engine, that was what I did. I liked to race, liked to go to the tracks, and that pretty much took up all my time.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a motorcyclist myself, but I haven't actually. I live in California now, and there's motocross stuff all over the place. I still haven't actually tried my hand at it, but maybe I'm over my peak at a whopping 26 years old. But if you had 3 words that you believe are associated with successful traders, what do you think those 3 words would be?
First and foremost, probably honesty. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to take a step back sometimes, and and see where you want to be, where you're going. You make sure you're doing a paper trading and you're being honest with yourself doing that. It's very easy to start to lie and make up numbers, and as far as convince yourself you know what you're doing before you're ready. be determined. You got to be determined to, push forward even through the losers, or if you're not on the best streak, or if you need to, perfect a different strategy a little bit more. And I put a little bit of thought into this last one. You kind of got to be forgiving. You got to be forgiving of yourself when, if you make a mistake, or there's been times went to go trade and then my stop loss is triggered and I zoom out a little bit. I'm like, what was I thinking? This should have been a major red flag right here. And I'm a little bit hard on myself at times when that happens.
Those are some really good words. I like honesty because it's so tricky. I'm trying to think, what guest was it? I believe it was RD Trader who, was telling us when he paper trades how he plays the whole, oh, I should have done that, or I would have done that, or I would have done that, and then you totally fool yourself, like you were saying, into thinking that you're a much better trader than what you are. So honesty, I really like that one because that is so true. It's way too easy to trick ourselves into thinking we are better traders than what we are. So where can people find you, though, in terms of Twitter? What's your Inner Circle alias? Where's the best place that people can contact you if they want to reach out?
Really, the best place to be right inside the Inner Circle. I'm not really on much social media. As far as the Inner Circle, Freefall 909. A lot of times, if you just call my name out on there, I'll be there. It's always on my computer. It's always up. I'm not always on there chatting, but I'm usually on there.
So you're kind of like Batman. If we just put the signal out into the room, you'll show up.
That's all you got to do. Excellent.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Justin, thanks a lot for being here and taking time out of your day. I really appreciate it. And this was a very fun and a very beneficial interview, especially with that whole honesty. I think that is well worth people listening to it. Just be honest with yourself. So thanks a lot for taking time out of your day.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, then I'd like to request a few things. First, just communicate with us. On the show notes, there's a section down below with comments. Leave comments there. Ches and I do our best to respond. We really do read them. We really do respond. We want to hear from people, your thoughts, if you have any suggestions. So let us know on that. Also, if you're listening to this on iTunes, please leave us a review, subscribe, and again, give us feedback. We want to make this as best and, just listener-friendly as possible. So do those couple things, and, comments, reviews, they really do go a long way in terms of what the time it would take you to do that. So if you could do that for us, that would be fantastic. Anything that you maybe heard that you want more information on, if you go to the show notes that can be found at claytrader.com/podcast, you can find those, at that link. And, that way, if you want to refer back to anything, that'll help you out. So thank you for listening, and we will see you back for the next episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.